My friend, silence is not weakness. Silence is strength. In a world where everyone wants to speak louder, prove themselves, and constantly shout about what they have done, silence has become rare. But silence is the place where true growth happens. When you stay silent, your actions become your words, and people start noticing you not because of what you claim, but because of what you create. Think of a seed. It stays hidden underground in silence. But one day, that silence breaks into something powerful, a tree that gives shade, fruit, and life. If the seed kept shouting every day, "Hey, I am a seed, look at me," it would never grow. In the same way, when we remain humble, patient, and silent in our efforts, success cannot resist coming to us. In life, you may have noticed that many people talk a lot about what they are going to do. They announce their plans, they promise results, and they try to convince the world of their greatness. But most of the time, those words fade away because they are not backed by consistent actions. On the other hand, there are people who quietly work day after day without making much noise. And when the results finally appear, they don't have to say a single word. The success itself becomes the loudest voice. Think of a student preparing for an exam. One student spends hours telling everyone how much he is studying, how late he is staying awake, and how hard he is working. The other student says nothing. He just keeps his head down, studies sincerely, and puts in quiet effort every day. When the results are announced, it is not the one who spoke the most that shines, but the one who worked silently. His actions carried more weight than the loud words of the other. Life works in the same way. Words can impress people for a moment, but actions inspire them for a lifetime. A person who constantly says, "I will do this, I will achieve that," may gain temporary attention, but eventually people stop believing because there is no visible proof. But someone who consistently delivers through effort and performance wins lasting respect without even trying to demand it. When you let your actions speak, you free yourself from the burden of explaining yourself to others. You don't need to prove your worth with arguments. Your results become the proof. Silence, in this way, becomes a strategy. By not speaking unnecessarily and by focusing on your work, you build an aura of reliability. People trust doers more than talkers. There's also another beauty in this. When you focus on actions instead of words, you grow faster. Talking consumes energy, but working produces results. The time you save by staying silent can be invested in improving your skills, learning, and practicing. Success doesn't come because you convince others. It comes because you convince yourself through discipline and action. So, my friends, always remember, people may forget what you said, but they will never forget what you did. The world does not measure your worth by promises. It measures it by results. Speak less, do more, and let your achievements make the noise for you. Patience is one of the greatest virtues in life, yet it is also one of the hardest to practice. In a world that constantly pushes us towards speed, fast internet, fast food, fast results, we have almost forgotten the beauty of waiting. But silence teaches us this forgotten art. When you choose to remain silent, you are not just controlling your tongue, you are also training your heart to wait, to endure, and to trust the process. Think of nature. A tree doesn't grow overnight. First, a seed lies quietly beneath the soil, unseen and unheard. It doesn't complain that nobody notices it. It doesn't get frustrated that its progress is invisible. In complete silence, it absorbs water, gathers nutrients, and strengthens itself underground. And then, when the right time comes, it breaks through the soil and reaches for the sky. The world only sees the green shoot, but what made it possible was the patience of silent growth. In life, we often want recognition before the right time. A young professional may want promotions too quickly. A new business owner may expect instant profits, or a student may feel restless about their future. But silence reminds us that rushing doesn't make the fruit sweeter, it only spoils it. Real success comes when we allow ourselves to grow silently and patiently without forcing life to move at our pace. Silence also prevents us from reacting impulsively. Many times, in moments of anger or frustration, we feel like speaking immediately, but silence teaches us to pause. That pause, even if it's just a few seconds, is where patience is born. By not responding immediately, we give ourselves the gift of clarity. Sometimes not reacting is the wisest reaction of all. There's another layer to this. Silence trains us to trust. When you plant seeds, you don't keep digging the soil every day to check if they're growing. You water them, you nurture them, and you trust the process. The same applies in our personal and professional lives. We must keep doing our work quietly and allow time to reveal the results. Patience doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing your best without forcing the outcome. When you are patient, you don't waste energy on worry. Instead, you conserve it for what truly matters, consistent effort. And sooner or later, patience always pays off. The most beautiful achievements in life are not the ones rushed into existence, but the ones patiently built, brick by brick, moment by moment, in silence. Humility is often misunderstood as weakness, but in reality, it is the true strength that attracts growth and opportunities. When you are humble, you don't need to announce your greatness, because humility itself speaks louder than pride. People are naturally drawn to those who are grounded, calm, and respectful, not to those who boast and show off. Success, too, has its own way of choosing who to follow, and it always follows humility. Imagine walking into a room full of people, the loudest person there, bragging about achievements and titles, might grab your attention for a few minutes. But slowly, You begin to notice the quiet, composed individual who listens more than he speaks, who respects everyone, and who never needs to shout about what he has achieved. Without even trying, this person leaves a deeper impression. Why? Because humility is magnetic. It creates trust, it creates respect, and it creates lasting influence. In life, arrogance might bring temporary attention, but it pushes people away in the long run. Humility, on the other hand, makes people want to support you, guide you, and help you grow. Even in the workplace, those who quietly contribute without constantly demanding credit are the ones leaders admire and colleagues respect. Success doesn't just come from skills, it also comes from relationships. And humility is the key that unlocks those relationships. Think about great leaders and achievers, whether in history, business, or spirituality. The ones remembered most fondly are not those who demanded recognition, but those who stayed grounded, even after reaching the top. Their humility gave them the wisdom to keep learning, because when you believe you already know everything, you stop growing. But when you remain humble, you remain a student of life, open to new lessons and new heights. Humility also allows you to handle success itself. Many people achieve something but lose it all because arrogance blinds them. They start believing success is permanent and there's a loan, forgetting that life can change at any moment. A humble person never forgets their roots. They stay grateful, and this gratitude ensures they handle success with balance and responsibility. When you live with humility, you don't need to chase success aggressively. Instead, success comes looking for you. People trust the humble, they recommend them, they support them, and they celebrate them. True greatness is not about standing above others, it is about lifting others while you climb. And only a humble heart has the strength to do that. In life, most people are busy speaking, proving, and expressing, but very few are truly observing. Silence gives us that rare gift. When you choose to remain silent, you automatically step into the role of an observer. You begin to notice things that others miss. You understand situations more deeply, and you gain an advantage that only awareness can bring. Talking too much often blinds us, but silence sharpens our vision. Consider a simple example. When two people argue loudly, both are so busy talking that they fail to truly hear one another. But if you stand silently in that room as an observer, you can easily understand what each one is trying to say, where the misunderstanding lies, and even how the argument could be resolved. Your silence gives you clarity, while their noise clouds their judgment. This is the power of being an observer. Silence opens your eyes wider than sound ever can. Observation also helps us learn faster. A child, for instance, learns not by speaking, but by silently watching parents, teachers, and the environment. The child imitates what he sees and absorbs lessons without words. As we grow older, We sometimes forget this natural way of learning because we become too eager to talk, too eager to prove what we know. But when we return to silence, we once again become students of life, learning from people, places, and even small moments. Silence also strengthens relationships. When you are silent, you listen more deeply. You catch the emotions behind someone's words. You notice their body language. And you connect with what they truly feel rather than just what they say. Many conflicts in families and friendships are not due to a lack of love, but a lack of listening. And true listening only happens in silence. On a personal level, observing silently gives you insight into yourself as well. When you pause and remain quiet, you notice your own thoughts, your habits, and your emotions. You begin to see why you react in certain ways, and this awareness allows you to improve. Without silence, self-reflection is impossible. Even in professional life, those who listen and observe stand out. In meetings, for example, the one who quietly listens, takes notes, and then speaks with precision is far more respected than the one who dominates the conversation with endless words. Observation makes your words more valuable because they are born out of understanding, not impulse. Silence, therefore, is not empty. It is full of awareness. The more silent you are, the more observant you become. And the more observant you are, the wiser your decisions, the stronger your relationships, and the faster your growth. One of the biggest challenges in today's world is distraction. We are constantly bombarded with opinions, comments, and judgments from people around us. Everyone has something to say about how we should live, what we should do, and what choices we should make. If we keep engaging in endless explanations and debates, our vision becomes clouded. But silence is like a cleansing tool. It removes the noise and gives us clarity of direction. When you choose silence, you stop wasting energy on proving yourself to others. Instead of spending time convincing people about your goals, you start focusing on actually working toward them. Many dreams remain unfulfilled not because they are impossible, but because people lose clarity after listening to too many voices. They get caught up defending themselves instead of building themselves. Silence protects you from this trap. Think of an archer aiming at a target. If he keeps listening to voices from the crowd, aim higher, aim lower, you'll miss. His mind will lose focus. But if he blocks out the noise and remains silent, his eyes stay fixed on the target and his arrow finds its way. Life is similar. The world will always have voices pulling you in different directions, but your success depends on how clearly you can keep your eyes on your own target. Silence also helps in decision making. When your mind is noisy, filled with arguments and endless discussions, you cannot think straight. But when you step back, stay silent and reflect, your thoughts begin to settle like dust in water. Once the dust settles, the water becomes clear and you can see through it. In the same way, silence clears your inner vision, helping you choose wisely without confusion. There is another beauty here. Silence protects your dreams from unnecessary exposure. Sometimes when you share your vision with too many people, you open doors for criticism, doubt, and negativity. Their words can weaken your confidence and blur your determination. But when you keep silent and protect your vision, it stays pure inside you, untouched by other people's fears and insecurities. Great achievers often say their biggest breakthroughs came in moments of silence, when they distanced themselves less and listened to their own inner world and listen from the no inner voice. Because your vision is not something the world will hand over to you. It is something your heart whispers when you are quiet enough to listen. So silence, in truth, is not emptiness. It is clarity. It allows you to see your path, your purpose, and your priorities with sharpness. And when your vision is clear, every step you take carries more confidence, more strength, and more certainty. Negativity is like smoke. It spreads quickly, clouds the air, and makes it difficult to breathe clearly. In life, we encounter many forms of negativity: criticism, gossip, jealousy, and unnecessary arguments. If we keep responding to every negative word, we end up exhausting ourselves and losing focus on what truly matters. This is where silence becomes our shield. It protects us from absorbing that toxic energy and allows us to continue moving forward with peace. When someone criticizes you unfairly, the natural tendency is to react, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong. But think for a moment, does arguing with negativity really change anything? More often than not, it only makes the situation worse. By staying silent, you deny negativity the fuel it needs to grow. Silence starves the fire. It says, your words do not have the power to disturb me. And that inner strength slowly turns into resilience. Think about gossip. People who gossip thrive on reactions. They enjoy when you feel upset or when you fight back. But the moment you stay silent, the power shifts. You no longer play their game. Your silence frustrates them, but it saves you. In that quietness, you are telling yourself, my energy is too valuable to be wasted here. This shield of silence allows you to walk away without scars. History is full of examples of great people who endured negativity yet remained silent. Instead of wasting time on critics, they poured their energy into building their work. And eventually, their success silenced everyone far better than words ever could. This is the beauty of silence. It transforms negativity into motivation without letting it enter your heart. Silence also helps protect your mental health. Engaging with negativity is like drinking poison, hoping the other person will suffer. It never works. When you stay silent, you choose peace over conflict. You choose inner calm over outer battles. And this calmness is what gives you the strength to continue your journey. It doesn't mean silence makes you weak. In fact, silence is one of the strongest responses you can give. It requires discipline to stay quiet when you have every reason to speak. But that restraint is power. It allows you to rise above the noise instead of drowning in it. So, whenever negativity comes your way, through words, actions, or situations, remember you have a shield. That shield is silence. Use it wisely, and you will find that most negativity cannot even touch you. It will bounce back while you continue your journey with focus, clarity, and peace. In today's world, many people believe that making noise, showing off, or constantly announcing their efforts will somehow bring them success. But the truth is, success has never been impressed by noise. Success bows only to consistency. Day after day, steady effort, even if small, builds something far more powerful than loud declarations. Silence is where this consistency is born. Think of water dripping on a stone. One drop of water may seem insignificant. It makes no difference to the stone. But when the drops keep falling, silently, patiently, and consistently, the hardest stone eventually gives way. The water didn't need to shout or demand attention. Its quiet persistence created transformation. This is the same with our lives. Success doesn't come from one loud effort, one big announcement, or one burst of energy. It comes from steady action, repeated over time, often in silence. Many people fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack consistency. They start with enthusiasm, talk about their goals, announce their dreams, but when the excitement fades, so does their effort. Meanwhile, someone else who quietly works every day without seeking applause ends up surpassing everyone. Success respects the one who shows up daily, not the one who only talks occasionally. Think of an athlete preparing for a championship. The medals are not won on the day of the final event. They are won months before, in the early mornings, in silent training sessions, when no one is watching. Every push-up, every run, every drop of sweat contributes to that victory. The stadium cheers only once, but the silent consistency is what truly earned the reward. The same applies to every area of life. In studies, in careers, in relationships, it is not grand gestures that build strength, but the consistent small acts repeated with sincerity. A student who studies 1 hour every day silently will always outperform the one who studies loudly for 10 hours only once a month. A professional who works quietly on improvement daily will outgrow the one who talks big but delivers little. Noise is temporary, but consistency is permanent. The world may be impressed by noise for a moment, but it forgets quickly. However, when results appear, when achievements speak, everyone remembers. That is why silence, combined with consistency, is the most powerful strategy for success. You don't need to remind the world of your efforts every day. Just keep working, keep moving, and let your results make the announcement. When the time comes, there is something mysterious about silence. When a person speaks less and works more, people naturally begin to wonder, one, what is going on behind that calm face. A silence has a way of creating curiosity. In a world where most people are busy talking about their plans, their dreams, and their struggles, the one who remains quiet stands out. That quietness sparks questions. What are they thinking? What are they building? What makes them so calm? This curiosity slowly turns into respect, and respect becomes influence. Think of an artist who doesn't tell the world what he is working on. While others are busy promoting unfinished ideas, this artist simply works silently in his studio. People may not notice him for a while, but when his artwork is finally revealed, it surprises everyone. That surprise creates admiration. His silence built curiosity, and his results built impact. Had he spoken too much about his work before it was ready, the magic would have been lost. The same happens in life. When you speak too much about your goals, people not only lose interest, but sometimes even start doubting you. They might discourage you or dismiss your dreams. But when you remain silent, you protect your plans while letting others stay curious. And curiosity works in your favor. It keeps people's eyes on you, waiting to see what you will do next. When your results finally show, they have a greater impact because they were unexpected. Silence also makes your words more valuable. If you speak all the time, people stop listening. But if you remain silent most of the time and speak only when necessary, every word you say gains weight. People pay closer attention because they know you do not waste words. In this way, silence turns your voice into a rare and precious resource. There is also a deeper side to this. Silence creates an inner mystery not only for others, but for yourself as well. When you don't explain everything you do, you give yourself space to grow without pressure. You are not burdened by constant questions and judgments. You have the freedom to surprise even yourself with what you are capable of. That freedom nourishes creativity, discipline, and strength. So silence is not just emptiness, it is a strategy. It keeps people curious. It protects your vision, and it makes your actions louder. When the time is right, people may forget the noise of words, but they never forget the quiet power of someone who lets results do the speaking. Wisdom does not always come from reading books or listening to speeches. More often, it comes from silence. In silence, we hear the voice within us, the quiet intuition that guides us more accurately than the noise outside. When life is too loud, our inner voice gets drowned out, and we begin to live according to other people's opinions. But when we embrace silence, we discover the wisdom that was always inside us, waiting patiently to be heard. Think of a calm lake. When the water is disturbed, you cannot see your reflection. But when the water is still and silent, the reflection becomes clear. The same is true of our minds. When we are restless, constantly talking, arguing, and filling our heads with noise, we cannot see life clearly. But when we sit in silence, our thoughts settle and we see the truth. That truth is wisdom. Throughout history, some of the greatest leaders, thinkers, and innovators were people who valued silence. They took time away from the crowd, away from endless conversations, to listen deeply to themselves. And in those moments of silence, they received insights that changed not just their lives, but the world around them. Silence gave them perspective that noise could never provide. In our daily lives too, silence can help us make better choices. When faced with challenges, we often rush to ask everyone for advice, and the result is confusion because each person says something different. But if you pause, stay silent, and listen inwardly, you often find the answer was within you all along. Silence aligns you with that inner wisdom, the voice that knows your strengths, your values, and your true path. Silence also gives us the ability to understand others more wisely. When you remain quiet in a conversation, instead of rushing to reply, you begin to notice things you would have missed. The tone of voice, the hidden emotions, the deeper meaning behind words. This wisdom helps you connect with people not just at the surface level, but at the level of the heart. And perhaps the greatest gift of silence is balance. When you spend time in silence, you stop reacting to every little problem. You become calmer, more thoughtful, and more centered. That state of mind is wisdom itself, the ability to see beyond the temporary and focus on what truly matters. So silence is not emptiness, it is a doorway to wisdom. The more you practice it, the more you realize that the answers you seek are not outside but within, and only silence has the power to reveal them. Silence has always been the companion of greatness. If you look closely at the lives of the most impactful leaders, thinkers, and achievers, you'll notice a common thread. They valued silence. They understood that true power does not always need to shout. In silence, they found strength, clarity, and guidance that allowed them to influence the world far beyond the reach of words. Think of a wise leader. While others around him may be busy debating, arguing, and proving their points, he remains calm, listening carefully. His silence doesn't mean he is weak or uninterested. It means he is absorbing everything before responding. And when he finally speaks, his words carry weight because they are born from reflection, not reaction. This is why people trust such leaders. Their silence has already shown them that wisdom lives within. The same applies to thinkers and innovators. Most breakthroughs in history didn't happen in noisy gatherings, but in silent rooms, quiet walks, or solitary moments of reflection. Great scientists, writers, and inventors often stepped away from the noise of society to immerse themselves in silence. In that stillness, their creativity bloomed. Their silence was not empty. It was fertile around where ideas grew into innovations that changed humanity. Achievers too use silence as a tool. Athletes, artists, and professionals understand that noise doesn't win medals, applause doesn't write books, and chair doesn't build companies. Silent discipline does. Waking up early, training alone, practicing tirelessly, working late nights. These are all silent acts. Nobody sees them. Nobody claps for them, but they are the foundation of success. By the time the world notices, the achievement is already complete. There is also a deeper beauty in how silence shapes character. Great people don't waste time arguing with critics or responding to every negative voice. They stay silent and let their achievements speak on their behalf. Their silence becomes their dignity, their shield, and their strength. And this is why they stand taller. Not because they shouted the loudest, but because they listened the deepest. If we wish to walk the path of true greatness, we must learn from them. Silence is not something to be feared. It is something to be embraced. It is the soil in which wisdom grows, the space where strength develops, and the shield that protects us from distractions. When we practice silence, like great leaders and achievers did, we align ourselves with the same timeless power that guided them. Silence, then, is not just a habit. It is a legacy, and those who master it leave behind footsteps for the world to follow.